The next big Nintendo Direct is coming, and that's the most exciting news for a Nintendo fan. This week has been a weird one, with a lot of big changes, like Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 being pushed to 2023, bummer, and E3 2022 just being axed entirely, no part of it alive. So this is a weird time, and many have wondered how this will affect Nintendo. Will their plans be adjusted, shifted, even canceled? And that's why today I'm taking you through an in-depth look at the big Summer Nintendo Direct 2022. What's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. Hit that like button if you're excited, and if you enjoy these videos, it does help out a lot. And let me know what you're looking forward to in the comments down below. All right, Nintendo has aligned their Direct with E3 for a decade now. Since the inception of Nintendo Directs, they've always happened coinciding with E3. So what happens when you remove all three E's from this summer? Some have worried that maybe Nintendo will shift, but I think their plans are very regimented. Okay, they've been on the same track for a decade, and I don't think that's gonna shift. A June Direct is where Nintendo likes to present the second half of the year's lineup. Now, if we look at date and timing, these typically have taken place around June 15th, June 11th, June 10th, somewhere in that range. Now you might think, Mario Strikers Battle League is out on June 10th, so maybe Nintendo wants to go early this year. But upon researching past Directs, Nintendo hasn't actually featured their June game every single time. In fact, recently, they have omitted it. So there's no need for Nintendo to go before Mario Strikers Battle League, and most likely they'll probably keep the same slot around the week of June 13th.
What if I told you that I could get you a ticket out of here for under $10? Because today's video is brought to you by Red Wings Airlines, and they've got a premier promotion for just $9.59. You can soar the skies in one of 15 warplanes, no matter the weather. Some thunderclouds might ruin your cooldowns, some dust storms might destroy your visibility, but they will help you fly through 30 different single-player missions. And if solo flying's not your speed, they got co-op and competitive play. With cross-platform play, might I add you, the only biplane company in the universe with cross-plat play on Steam and Nintendo Switch. You can duke it out against 9 other pilots, team up in groups of 5 and fight to the finish. Learn what it's like to be a true American ace as you skill up your aircraft, choosing from dozens of perks and upgrades to find what suits you best. And if dog fighting's not your speed, you can play hide and seek, you can play split screen, you can even play the whole campaign in co-op. So click that big boy link in the description down below to download Red Wings American Aces today. The promotion for $9.59 is limited time, so get after it. Every time you help click that link, I get another pack of airplane peanuts. And you know how much I love my airplane peanuts.
Because Nintendo Direct is like a stream show, it's for the fans, it doesn't take place in a theater or at a convention center. They never were actually tied to anything except the general consensus that everyone releases things during E3. And I feel like everybody kind of has their plans aligned, publishers and developers, to present around this time. And so even without E3, we'll still sort of feel like we get an E3. Do you know what I'm saying? For Nintendo, this is a very important show because the biggest game that they could have put out is now off the table. Zelda is gone, so what takes its place? And what will be featured at this summer showcase? What will they emphasize based on years past? They've seen significant segments dedicated to big games like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. But right now, there isn't really a big 2022 release, not at least of that scope. I firmly think we will see a bunch of Splatoon 3. I think we'll get the release date for that game, and it will be an important part of their Direct, showing us exactly why this is 3 instead of 2, because honestly, we haven't seen hardly anything since that game was revealed way back in early 2021. I think that will be a pillar of the show, undoubtedly. Now, there is a new Fire Emblem 3 Hopes game coming in late June, but that could be omitted as well. Perhaps Nintendo will drop an overview trailer somewhere on Twitter or YouTube, and that could suffice for promoting that game. Because as I mentioned, contrary to popular belief, Nintendo doesn't always pimp out their most recent releases. They have skipped over Mario Tennis Aces and Mario Maker 2 and covered those separately in separate events and not made a big to-do at E3. Nintendo should have a lot to say about Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Back in the Sword and Shield days, we saw a significant segment, even though there was a Pokemon Presents. And there could be another Pokemon Presents, and there probably will, sometime in the summer. May or June kind of lining up and leading into E3, you'll probably get a really nice look at Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and set the stage for Nintendo to just kind of add some secret sauce and get you ready for their big November release. Many players are wondering, are there more releases? And I think there absolutely are. Even before Zelda was delayed, there's gaps in the schedule. Like what's coming out in July? What's coming out in August? What's coming out in October? What's coming out in December? We don't know. One game that will surely fill one of those gaps is Mario + Rabbids Sparks of Hope. And even if Ubisoft does show it at their own thing, Nintendo will show it as well. And it sounds like this is going to be a substantially improved venture, so this sequel should get a lot of limelight, especially if there's no other Mario game. Now, I've talked in other videos that maybe Mario is the man to replace Zelda for holiday 2022. We know there's a big Mario movie coming in December, and it would be perfect to have some Mario game for you to go buy after you wahoo your way out of the theater. But maybe Mario + Rabbids is that game. Even though it's a joint venture between Nintendo and Ubisoft, it still has Mario smack dab in the title. And so that game honestly could release in July, August, October. They really even could pair it in December alongside the movie, and maybe that's why we haven't seen so much, because it really is a tail end 2022 release. But don't worry, if this sounds like a retread, there will be new announcements as well. There's not a single show that goes by where Nintendo doesn't say, surprise, or one more thing. And it's kind of interesting because we're out of the routine of Smash Bros. We don't have big characters to carry us forward. And those big characters are something that have been featured heavily in all the June Directs since that game's announcement. And we don't have that. So Nintendo does need to fill those slots. Will there be DLC for something else, like Mario Party Superstars or Pokemon Legends Arceus? There could be. But I do think we'll get a significant amount of new titles that will release later this year and also in 2023. Remember, Nintendo announced Splatoon 3 a year and a half early, so we could see games that are due for holiday 2023 at this summer direct. They probably will show off Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, but I also want to prep you that BOTW 2 may be absent from the summer direct. Nintendo could opt to have its separate showcase just for Zelda, although I think something Zelda will inevitably show up. We could get our Wind Waker Twilight Princess ports that people have rumored for a really long time. And now that there isn't a Zelda game scheduled for 2022, it seems like they'd want to fill that slot as well. And I think a port is probably the most likely culprit, although maybe they will do something different and new. We did get Link's Awakening way back at the launch of Switch Lite. Could they dip their toes back into top-down Zelda? I actually think that would be really exciting. But in terms of new games, we're probably more likely to see the Metroid Prime Remaster that has been heavily talked about, as well as a new Donkey Kong game that's been heavily discussed as well. But you can't rule out wildcards. Nintendo could have the next ARMS up their sleeve. And I do think at 100 million units sold, now is the time to try new IP. Nintendo has actually veered away from new IP and has relied heavily on their popular franchises, so perhaps they go the route of Star Fox or Kid Icarus, something that they haven't tapped into yet on Nintendo Switch. I think the Mario Kart Booster Course Pack is a DLC that could be featured, and I do think this is a year where we will get a big indie game drop. In the past, we've seen some pretty substantial releases right on the day of the Summer Direct. Okay, we got Fortnite in 2018, we got Cadence of Hyrule in 2019, and we also got Hollow Knight in 2018. I think now Hollow Knight Silksong could be a substantial part of the E3 showcase. I think Team Cherry could pop this one at the Summer Direct and drop it that day. Now the game has probably built to a substantial size, and if they do want to sell pre-orders or if they're even going to put out a physical version because of the scope of the game, then they probably would wait. But if this is an eShop exclusive, then drop that thing right after the Direct. It does generate a lot of buzz when you can go play the game right then and there. And yes, the buzz was a bug pun for Hornet and the Silksong adventure. It would also be super cool to see Nintendo dip their toes into crossing over once again, like they did with Cadence of Hyrule, taking the Crypt of the Necrodancer dungeon crawler idea, merging it with the Zelda franchise, and now hey, maybe do that with Metroid or Animal Crossing. I would love to see something Animal Crossing at E3. An update doesn't seem to be in the cards, but maybe they're already working on the next adventure. You look at something like Mario Party and see how surprisingly successful the first Super Mario Party was, and they got right after it for Mario Party Superstars. So perhaps this is the time to reveal plans for what's next in the franchise of Isabelle and Tom Nook. I think this is a really exciting summer showcase for Nintendo, because without the big fish, there is just room for Nintendo to create and innovate. They've also put out so many games recently and announced so much in so many popular franchises that really it's just a complete wild card for what they decide to drop next. We've heard talk of a new Fire Emblem game, one that is mainline and focuses much more on the Three Houses style than on the Musou style of the upcoming Three Hopes, and so that is something that could slot in as well. And never say never for Metroid Prime 4. Perhaps they announce the Metroid Prime remaster and then drop a trailer for 4 and say like the next 2 years are gonna be all about Samus eaten. We know there'll be some third-party announcements, and I think this is gonna be a very strong summer showcase for third parties on Switch. I just hope most of them aren't of the cloud variety. Now, really, there is also a chance for new hardware. I don't wanna spend too much time talking your head off about Pro or 4K, but I speculate that one of the reasons Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 has been delayed is because there is in fact that rumored Switch Pro that so many sources have supposedly been confident about for a number of years now. A 4K Switch model just seems inevitable, and maybe it really is coming March 2023, with their big new Zelda game to support it. And what better time to unveil to the world your next huge hit of a hardware than at this summertime where normally everything gets announced at E3. It is a possibility. Now they could just fill the show with Pokemon and Zelda and really keep it locked in. But I feel like Nintendo is kind of at this bursting point where they're seeing so much success and so many games are going hog wild that it's time for them to just continue the momentum. We're in the real sweet spot of Switch where all games are doing stunningly well. Everything that comes out sets records for the franchise. We saw it yet again with Kirby and the Forgotten Land, a phenomenal game that's selling phenomenally well. So you don't slow down when things are as strong as they are, and when there's so much coin to be made. So I do believe this Direct will take place the week of June 13th. I believe it'll feel like it's just an E3 showcase, but it won't have any E3 branding, and it won't be around a time where everybody else is talking about a big show in LA. There won't be a show, but there will be a show. And Nintendo will absolutely divulge their upcoming plans because frankly, there's too much uncertain. After June, we really don't know. And so this reveal must take place in June to set the stage for what's next. They could fill in things with Nintendo Switch Online, special accessories, I don't know, another anniversary celebration. But all I know is that it is going to be a fun time. It's something to look super forward to, and we will enjoy the heck out of it together. As soon as they announce the date, probably sometime next month, I will fill you in and give you exact specifications. We'll analyze their wording when they say 50 minutes of Nintendo Switch games mostly releasing in 2022 with, of course, the extra space for 2023 if they decide to do it. And you know they will, and you know that we'll cover it and enjoy it together. So until that time, everybody, let me know what you're most looking forward to at this Summer Direct and what you think Nintendo will focus on in the comments down below. Until next time, focus on staying safe, staying healthy, staying happy, staying positive out there. I love you all so much, and I want you to have the best day you possibly can. So get out there, enjoy. Thanks again, and until next time, SwitchForce out.